Okay, it says we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Reading the Room, and welcome to my channel. This is the first of, I guess, a new series within a series. It's a book club. We were discussing Elena Knows by Claudia Pinheiro, translated by Francis Riddle, and I am joined for the first episode by the lovely Kieran from Katie Books. Hello,
That's me.
Kieran.
Hello, how are you, bud? You okay?
I'm pretty good. I just finished this last night, and it kind of wrecked me. It really got me in terms of the essential mystery at the core of this. But I'm really excited to talk about this with people. So I guess we only have two people in here so far. Should we wait a little bit? I don't know, or should we just go into it?
People can be fashionably late. I like
Yeah.
that.
I don't want to dive into the meat and then okay. Well, we'll see. So essentially, this is going to be at the end of every month, the last week, we're going to be talking about some book on here, and I'll be joined by another guest. Next month, I don't know who it's going to be yet, but I think after this live, I'm going to pick 4 books that I'm looking at, share them on my Instagram stories, and then you all vote on what you would like to read along with us, and then watch the podcast at the end of the month if you're so inclined. Any questions, let me know. But it's very
there
chill.
Be square, people. Be there be square.
Right. Alrighty. So, Kieran, what did you make of this book? I've watched your review, but I'll let you fill in the people of what you think of this.
I want to say I don't think I was everyone's favorite after that review. So I've read this 2 weeks ago. I feel as though it was 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, they or thereabouts. And I think it had a very wonderful resolve. This is like a plotted book, so the resolve at the end was lovely. I did say to Jay I would read this before I came on, but sadly life has got in the way, and I've not been able to. And it's very interesting how very little I can remember of this. I feel as though I got punched. I've seen the bruise. It's faded, and I've kind of gone, "Oh, where was the?" Like, I don't feel as though I got very much ebbed. It very much ebbed from me.
That's so interesting because it is like, in a sense. Well, I was looking at the comments of your video, and someone was wondering whether you could really categorize this book as a crime, or thriller book. And
yeah,
because there is a surprise in a sense. We won't spoil it, but people are commenting. Hello. Hi,
Karen. Hi.
Ben the Fan.
Love that.
So it's like a crime and thriller book, and so the end to me surprised me. It got me. I was when you read this book, were you trying to like solve the mystery as you read it, or do you kind of just absorb mysteries like as you read them? I know some people have different approaches to like reading mysteries like that. I tend to find that I try to kind of resolve it, but then I don't like try too hard. I'm not like an Agatha Christie, like set the book aside, write out everything, all the clues. But
this isn't like a book I would normally read, and I read a book. I didn't finish it because I didn't think it was that great. But it's Pierre Montaigne's, which is, I think the author's last name is Tabucchi. I'll double check that. But has a very similar lilt to Elena Knows, which is that there's a repetition of Elena Knows, and in Pierre Montaigne's there is the repetition of Pierre Montaigne's. And I don't think there was a crime to be solved as such with Elena Knows, but you want to figure out how the dots have aligned. So I don't think it's a book where you're thinking, maybe people do, but I didn't think like, okay, let me put on my detective hat. They are, there's 5 people in a room. Where's the dagger? It was not one of those. So I wasn't thinking like, can I figure it out? I think you're there for the ride of, can Elena figure out over the course of one day? Is she able to follow her intuition? But one thing I'd like to say, because I'd love to know your thoughts, the comments of my video seem to say by me asserting that this was crime fiction, that there was like a negative connotation, and I didn't mean it in that way at all. But I thought it was quite interesting how there was already like I'm knocking it down for being genre fiction.
Yeah, I mean, I think even though I think it is crime fiction, someone has died and it's unclear how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
The narrator is questioning that. So I think there's necessarily, a crime to be solved in a sense. But I don't think that means that, like, by saying that, I don't think you're limiting it to like genre fiction. I do think this book is much more than just solving a crime. I think it's a really interesting and complex look at Parkinson's disease and how Elena's journey to trying to solve this mystery is, in a sense, hindered by her disability and the challenges that she presents. And so this book is really interesting because it jumps back and forth in time. So the present, she's trying to get to this mysterious woman's house to ask her to help her solve this this mystery. And then in between those chapters, it kind of goes back to understanding her mother-daughter dynamic and why Elena believes that she knows her daughter couldn't have committed suicide. And I think that that's really interesting. And I love this book because whenever I dabble in quote unquote like genre fiction, I hope that it has something that kind of elevates it beyond purely like a crime that no one cares about. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, not to shit on like Agatha Christie, I think those books are fun to read and they're like the most best-selling books ever, but they don't really like stay in my mind much just because it's purely like how tricky can we make the plot. And I think this book is less, I don't know, preoccupied with the mystery than the actual relationships of the characters. So I loved that. But what did you make of the refrain? I don't know if the refrain's the right word, but Elena knows the title. It's constant, so it's told in present tense, and so it constantly says like Elena knows X, Y, Z. Elena knows this. Elena knows that. Like, what did you make of that throughout?
I think similar to, I can only refer to it as similar to Piero Mentaine's. This, so I think if you like Ellen Knows, I think Piero Mentaine's would be an obvious go-to to see the parallels of what's being done with that refrain. I like that word. I'm going to use refrain for that refrain, but I think it emphasizes that it's not that it's not that she thinks, it's not that she's she's concluding, not that she's believing, of which belief is a major factor within this, but there's that specific, that actual that she astutely can confirm these instances. And what we realize as we walk through the book and catch a taxi and have conversations with Elena is that she doesn't know. She believes that she does, but what she thinks her daughter would have done versus what her daughter actually does, not so much contradict, but it's not the person who Elena believed her daughter Rita was. So I think that wording, I'd like to know is it a direct translation from the Italian? Not the Italian, sorry, that's Piero Mentaine's, from Spanish. I'd be curious to know if that is a literal translation. If anyone knows, let me know, because I'm always interested in that.
I'm curious too. And by the way, if anyone in here has read the afterword, I did not read it after I finished it last night. There's like a small afterword and it might touch on the translation, but if there's anything interesting that was in that, please drop it in the comments because I'm curious. But yeah, I agree. I think what's really interesting about that refrain is how this book kind of explores how Elena knows through her narration her experiences with disability, right? And the book kind of questions whether you can truly know something about someone else if you don't actually embody whatever that is. So it's a couple of different things here, whether it be motherhood or disability. I feel like I'm trying to avoid talking about anything spoilery, but I think it really asks this question with all the different characters of this question of how can you really know someone's thoughts or experience or decision with something if you don't embody them. And so I think the style of narration in this book where it's kind of, I've seen it described as claustrophobic and very interior with Elena and her experience. Like truly half the book is just Elena on various trains trying to make it to a destination, and the experience of having to rely on pills to have bodily function. I think the book really tries to put you within the perspective of Elena, and then contrast it with this mystery of Rita, who doesn't really get shown on the page until the end, in a sense, and understanding her perspective. But let me pop some comments on really quick. So Karen said, I don't read crime books, but I think it was fun to go in expecting it to be a crime novel and then getting the surprise. Yes, I totally agree. And I felt that like throughout. I had a couple of thoughts about who did it. Like, I was really surprised by this book. I don't really often read mysteries, I guess. Maybe that's why. Alicia says, hello. Just joined and started from the beginning. I'm about to start it, so I'll stay for non-spoiler thoughts and then come back and watch the rest later. Awesome. Curious to know what you think by the end of it. It really comes together, I think. It's a literal translation from the Spanish title, Elena Sabe. Oh, interesting.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad to know people, because I was talking to Kieran before this, and I was like, should we talk spoilers? I don't know, but I'm glad to know that you haven't read it, so I really won't spoil it. Alrighty,
There's enough to talk about this book without going into the actualities. So
absolutely,
we got you covered.
I will give one criticism of this book that I have, and let me know if you agree. Anyone watching, and you, Kieran. The dialogue in this book really irritated me because it's told in these blocks of italicized text that just kind of come up within the blocks, and it doesn't paragraph break for each person speaking. So every other sentence is a different character, but then sometimes if she uses a question, it's still that character talking. So often it's quite confusing and trying to track like, who's speaking. That's just one thing that kind of annoyed me, but I kind of understood why she did it in terms of that, like, I think the claustrophobia feeling that was trying to be instilled. But what did you make of that? Does that annoy you at all? Or
I remember it took me a while. I think it was about 50 pages to understand the mechanics of how the prose is put together and how that speech is conveyed. But I remember after 50 pages, I kind of just went into it. It didn't, I don't think it, I mean, I suppose my major criticism of it is how slow the book is, of which there has been lovely conversation as part of my Discord, where the reasons behind that slowness or that heaviness in moving relates to Parkinson's, which is a wonderful reasoning, but sadly for me, I still found it very slow. There's a lot of talking. There's not a lot of. I think for me, the pace is really bizarre in this. It moves very quickly, very slow, and then it's I'm not going to say how many pages, but obviously towards the end, and this is what's happened. It all tumbles into each other, and that pacing for me was off to a point where I couldn't tell if I was disinterested, not embedding myself within the text, or if it was purposeful. And when I can't deduce that, I'm not a big fan of that.
yeah,
I need to know, is this purposeful, or is it me, or is it just not grasping my attention? Did you find something similar with the pace in there?
I did. Yeah, I found we've talked about this before, like in terms of me trying to understand like where my own reading experience kind of plays with the author's intention of.
2 seconds, my 3-year-old daughter has come in. Hello.
We have a special guest appearance.
Daddy, who is it?
Oh, this is hello. Sorry, everyone. This is.
Hi.
Do you want to say hello?
Hello,
Hi.
Is everything okay?
I'm Jalen.
Daddy, who is it?
That's Jay. Jay reads books like me. You read books, don't you?
Yeah.
Sorry, we've really gone off piece here, haven't we? That is the. Do you need my help? Do I need to come? Yeah. I think I've been called, Jay. I do apologize.
No,
I think
there's
I have
no worries.
maybe problems.
No worries. I'll speak with everyone in the comments.
Okay, 2 cents.
No
I'm so
worries.
sorry.
You're good. All right, everyone, keep me company. Let's see. Gemma says, yes, all the passages describing Elena's movements made me feel like I was actually inside her body struggling too. Yeah, definitely. I think that was intentional on the author's part. I think it's really effective too. And so one thing, I'll get Kieran's input on this when he returns, but this book is very much, I realize a trope that I love in books is like the unreliable older woman solving a mystery, like an untraditional mystery. And so this book reminds me so much of my favorite of Tessa Moshfegh book, Death in Her Hands. If anyone's read it, let me know. And then also Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. I feel like those three are like the holy trinity of of this trope. And if anyone has recommendations for like older woman, unreliable, solving something, I would love those recommendations because this is very much that for me. Thank you. Your username is interesting. We're perfect and cute. Thanks. Very Death in Her Hands. Yeah. I like, it seems like all three of those books explore, well, namely Death in Her Hands, explore this idea of like mind spaces, and they're kind of like metaphysical and putting you within the perspective of the narrator. And I think it's interesting that each of those writers intentionally uses like an older woman to explore those things. So I don't know what my conclusion is there, but I just enjoy the reading experience. And I feel like it's kind of a fun, as you mentioned, Karen, like a subversion of general like mystery tropes. I think it's more interesting, and I guess maybe, for lack of a better word, engaging for me to read. But let's see. Does anyone have any questions, comments? What did you all think? What do you rate the book? Also, does anyone think that this book is going to win the International Booker or not? Let me know. I read this one. I've read Heaven from the short list. I think that's it. Why am I blanking on what's on the short list? I read Eleanor's and Heaven, and I don't know which one I prefer. I really liked both. I loved the philosophical explorations of Heaven, but I liked the plot of Claudia Pinero's Eleanor Knows more. But I think they're both really interesting in terms of form and how short they are. The use of brevity in fiction, I think, is always fun. I love short stories as well. So let's see. Maybe it's because as a society, we tend to ignore our elderly, so we don't expect all the interiority that's going on with them. Sorry, Kieran, I just saw Kieran in the corner. Let me restart this. Maybe it's because as a society, Kieran, do I add you? Give me a thumbs up if I should add you. No? Okay, never mind. Maybe it's because as a society, we tend to ignore elderly, so we don't expect all the interiority that's going on with them. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's one thing that I loved with Moshfegh. I think that was the first of the three that I read. I really loved seeing the perspective of an older woman. I feel like that's not often used, especially in like contemporary literary fiction. It's also interesting because Moshfegh's like most popular work, My Year of Rest and Relaxation, it's like a young 20-something. And so I know I'm trying to remember, I'm a fake fan, but I think she started Death in Her Hands before My Year of Rest and Relaxation and then came back to it. And I wonder if she was drawn to go back to the story because of the narrator being so different, yet still kind of like Moshfeghian in her unlikableness. And then also my hot take. I don't think it will win, but it's the people's choice. Yeah, the reason why I put this in like what I'm calling the short list of like my book club picks was because of how I think I've seen like 4 or 5 reviews say that this is going to win. Like likely, but I don't know. I mean, I've only read this in Heaven, but like just looking at the short list, high level, I feel like Books of Jacob will take it, even though the duo has won before. So I don't know if that's like, I don't know the history of the International Booker like awarding the Booker to 2 to the same person twice or more than that. But I need to grill Kieran on that when he comes back. Gave it a, I lost a comment. Gave it a 3.5. Was sort of hoping she had actually been murdered. Oh, crap. Slight spoiler, everyone. I'm sorry. I should have read that before I opened it. Yeah, we won't go into specifics. Still read it. It's still surprising. Yeah, I mean, I tend to think, I don't know. I kind of stayed away from the thriller genre lately because, and like unreliable narrators, like I've had a hard time with them recently, except when, I don't know, when it's doing a little something more, if that makes sense. I don't know. If you all like mystery and thrillers, let me know in the comments because, or if you have one similar to this, like this is the stuff I'm looking for. But let's see, not a crime reader, but what made this interesting for me and what I think solved the mystery for me was that it felt more like portrayal of different aspects of bodily autonomy than mystery. Definitely. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think near the end, talking high level, but this idea of, you're right, bodily autonomy and like knowing, for lack of a better word, as Elena believes she knows, knowing someone's experience. And I think also one thing that I need to ask Kieran about is this exploration of religion through this book. Religion is something that I am never able to weigh in on in, I think, an informative way because I didn't grow up religious at all, and I'm not religious at all now. And so I'm always curious to understand how religion informs the text, particularly within local culture. So let's see. The mother-daughter relationship reminded me a lot of Hot Milk by Deborah Levy. I need to read, okay, Deborah Levy. I've only read Things I Don't Want to Know. Is that what it's called? Yeah, that's the only one I read and I didn't love it. Gotta say. But I've heard The Cost of Living, the second in that trilogy, is excellent. And I think I heard Hot Milk is very similar to Burnt Sugar by Avni Doshi, which I know Kieran adored that book. And I love that book too. I picked it up based on his recommendation. And that's when I was kind of getting a little bit more interested in the booker. So I'll have to check out Hot Milk. Maybe I'll try that one next from Deborah Levy. Little one has come up with fever. No, I'm so sorry. I hope she feels better. Oh no. Now it's just me, everyone. Hello. Get to just stare at me, I guess. See, this is why live streaming is scary, because I'm like, wow, I don't, what do I do? Let's see. Give me 1 second, y'all. Okay, 1 second. I'm doing one thing. If anyone has, for next month's pick, I was thinking about going between front list and back list every month to hopefully have like more accessibility in terms of, finding them at the library or paperback copies. But I don't know. I also like the idea of kind of reading newer releases and being excited about new stuff with you all. So I don't know if you have any like books that you want to read along for the book club, let me know and I'll like highly consider them. I'm just curious to know what you're all like looking at coming up soon, like in your May TBRs, because for me, one book that I'm really eager to read is called Trust by Hernan Diaz. That comes out on May 3rd. I don't know when it comes out in the UK though, but that's one that I'm like looking at. I haven't read it. Also, like I'm happy to include books that I love that I think will be fun for discussion if that is cool too. I know some people prefer to like read all together, like having the, am I a host for lack of a better word, like newly read it instead of like bringing my own, like, oh, I love this book, so I hope you all do too. Like, I want you all to be very candid about the book. You all can rag on my favorite books if you want to. I promise it won't hurt my feelings. But anyways, yeah, if you have any books, let me know what you're eager to read next month. 1 second. Thank you. Live streams are scary, but you're doing a wonderful job. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know me, I get like a flushed red neck whenever I film YouTube videos by myself, and I can like later edit anything that I say. I still get like weird. So this is like a whole other thing for me. But I'm trying to push myself to do it. James said, trust. Yes, heard such good things. And the cover is amazing. Yeah, I love the cover. I love Riverhead Books. They're probably like them and FSG. They have my favorite covers, I would say. I like New Directions too, but like those two, love. But for Trust, I know Kieran loves his other book called In the Distance, I believe. And Grace just read it as well. I think it was based on, no, it was for our Secret Santa. Kieran sent Grace In the Distance, and Grace also loved it. So now I'm like, I want to read it. And plus I saw Roxanne Gay say it's like excellent. He has a good lineup of interviews coming up. It seems to be getting like pre-prize buzz. So all I know, I think it's like a metafiction, multi-narrative book. It's like 4 novels in one, and they all kind of like inform each other. And if you've been following my channel at all, you know I'm kind of loving like metafiction, things that are questioning the form of the novel and doing like interesting things that way. So that's I want to read it. It comes out Tuesday, so I'm hyped. Let's see. Oh, so Elena knows it's disappeared from your memory. I've even forgotten what the twist was, but I do remember the atmosphere and powerful slowness. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I wonder if part of the reason is, okay, so this is a question that I've had internally recently, and I've kind of had some like personal anxiety about it, is I often, even for books that I really love, like a couple weeks out, sometimes I don't remember like everything about it or even like the endings of books. And I'm like, what does this mean? Like, did I not read it slowly enough, or like, is my memory like not great? And like, what does that mean? I kind of got nervous, but I think what I've seen is this general thing with readers is like, it's the more so like the experience of reading the book. And then like, if you don't take notes, you're not going to remember everything that you read. I think that's probably impossible. So I feel like I should not be as like nervous about that. But like when I come to some wrap ups at the end of the month, I'm like, I love this book, but like what happened in it again? Like, I don't know. But anyways, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone that's watching this. I can't believe you all are just watching me talk. Thanks. I always love a metafiction moment. Oh my God, Ben, I finished Dorian Gray. So Ben has been getting me into classics. I picked up Middlemarch mostly due to him, because he loved it and I loved it. He also talked about Dorian Gray in his recent video about Penguin classics, like he collects them. I think, Ben, you said that whenever you like go to a used bookstore and you see one, then you buy it. So I love that. But yeah, I read Dorian Gray, and that book is wild, pun intended. I really loved it though. I want to watch the 1945 adaptation of that book. I heard the new one, like from 2009, sucks. I asked my friend who she's like really into film. She said she loves that book, and she's like, watch the 1945 one. And I guess the painting from that movie is in like a Chicago museum, I guess, which is cool. But I haven't been to Chicago in a while. But that'd be cool to like watch the movie and then go actually see the painting, because when I was reading that book, that painting creeped me the hell out. Like that book is so cool. It's punk as hell. Anne Marie, hello. Don't worry, I forgot I've read chapters till halfway through and something pops up that I realize I've already read. Yeah, I fast forward a few pages and that's mid-book. No, I totally get that. Yeah, and one thing too is like I kind of go in waves. Like I tend to read multiple books at one time, and that doesn't help the problem, I think. Even like I try to split it up between books that are kind of different in terms of like plot or genre, fiction versus nonfiction, but I can still sometimes get like, I don't know, confused about what I'm reading. Sometimes if I don't like fully get into the book, especially if I just start it, I get kind of like disoriented. But let's see. Would be interested to perhaps see you discuss a classic as one of the picks after you love Middlemarch so much. I'm down. And the reason, so of course, this is kind of like a book club thing that's going to happen, but I would love, like, this is so awesome. You're all engaging with me on this, but I just want to make sure I'm picking books that like everyone's excited about. So I don't know if like our book club's better book clubs like this, are they better to have like newer stuff that everyone's excited about, or like would y'all be down to commit to like reading something older? Like let me know, because I will pick something. I just want to make sure people like it's not just me talking to the wall or like talking into the metaverse by myself about a classic. Because I'll just stick to like reading it by myself and then filming YouTube videos, you know. And also I'm trying to think of what classics on my TBR are always like long. Like I want to read Villette by is it Charlotte Bronte? I think. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Villette and Anna Karenina, but that's like massive. So that's not, you know, that's not going to happen for a book club, I don't think. I think it's just the nature of reading. Yeah. I think so too. And also like being an online book person, like I always try to make it a priority. I read every day now, and like the quantity with which I think we all read, if we're like on the internet reading, like there's no way to keep it all in your brain, I don't think. And that's why I love like filming wrap-ups to document those thoughts, because before I wouldn't really like remember what I thought about things in specific. But yeah. Visit Chicago. I would love to. And I don't know if anyone here watches Drag Race, but the Chicago drag scene is lit, and I would love to like go to some drag shows in Chicago too. But oh, and speaking of drag, I don't know if anyone here is interested in drag, but can we talk about season 14 finale, Willow Pill? Hello. She moved to Chicago recently. So she's hanging out with Denali. Love her. Someone said LOL. I hope you're not laughing at me. It's okay, you can laugh at me. This is funny. I can't believe this happened. I hope Kieran's children are okay. Vanity Fair, Chunker. Yeah, see, like another interesting thing that I've been thinking about with the rise of like TikTok and book talk, I'm afraid that, and with like streaming, like songs getting super short on Spotify, like I'm very nervous that books are going to become like, you know, slim little things. Like I hope that that's not a trend in publishing to increase like, you know, the to hit people's reading counts every year is to publish shorter books, but attention spans, social media, it's a thing. Oh yeah, Tenant of Wilderpell Hall. That one's Anne Bronte, is that right? Oh yeah, you said that in the next. Yeah, Anne Bronte. I have not read. I've only read Jane Eyre. I also have Wuthering Heights. That's actually kind of a shorter one that'd be fun to read. I started that a couple months ago, and then I like kind of DNF'd it. Just I don't know, not really like intentionally. Does anyone else have like DNFs and like unintentional DNFs? You know, like I didn't like mean to, but wasn't vibing and got distracted. You know, Boys Town is lit. Yeah, I went to Boys Town once, and it was lit. That is true. Well, everyone, I don't know if this is entertaining for you all. I'm scared. I'm trying to think of what else to talk about. I mean, I think if you do love this book, I think you will love Death in Her Hands and Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. If you haven't read those yet, I would love to think about those books a little bit more. Maybe do a video on them. Potentially, I think they're really interesting. They all do something similar but quite different from each other. That's fun to think about, I think. But kind of love that Sea of Tranquility was so short. The sense of accomplishment from finishing a great book came much quicker. Yeah, so I just bought Sea of Tranquility last weekend. I believe I was watching Noelle Gallagher's recent video. Was it a haul or like a TBR? I'm blanking, but she bought that book and it had like this really nice blue sprayed edges from Barnes & Noble. So I went to Barnes & Noble and got that edition. I didn't love The Glass Hotel by her, but I know she's quite beloved for Station 11, which I also haven't read. But I saw this one was quite short, like you're mentioning, and it seems like it'll be, I don't know, good read. Seems like she's doing a lot, like time travel in a very slim book seems like a hard thing to do, but Virginia Woolf. Yes, that's a really good idea. I've been wanting to read her. I think I own Mrs. Dalloway. And then what's the one, To the Lighthouse? To the Lighthouse, I guess, greatly influenced Brandon Taylor's Real Life. So that's my favorite book of 2020. In my recent, was it Friday reads? Sunday reads, I was mentioning how time is fake. And like, I cannot believe I read that book in 2020. Like, time is weird, especially in relation to books. Like, that's wild. So maybe To the Lighthouse, Mrs. Dalloway. I think The Waves, I think that's her as well. They all seem pretty short. So those are options. Orlando. Actually, I know that that's by her, but I don't know what that's about. So I'm intrigued. Maybe I'll do a blend of like 4. Maybe I'll do like a recent, 2 recents, 2 old. That's a good idea. 2 frontlist, 2 backlist, and then you all can decide. Ooh. Am I late to the Virginia Woolf train? She's a DWM, right? Like classic DWM. Depressed woman moving, for anyone that doesn't know. A Room of Her Own is my favorite. Quick question. Has anyone read Edith Wharton? Because that's also one of Brandon Taylor's favorite authors, I believe. The Ways is good too. Okay, I'm still entertaining. Putting together an IKEA cupboard. Wow. So my bestie CJ on here, CJ Reads, she's moving to Yuma, and she was on her Instagram. She was like showing her house, her new house, and talking about like projects she has planned. And I was joking with her. I don't know if I said this, but I meant to say it. I was like, I have a hard time like even building like IKEA stuff. Like I can't even imagine doing like home renovation stuff. My partner, he is very much like about project management and stuff and like getting that kind of stuff done. He's quite handy. But for like me, I wouldn't even know. Like she was talking about her bathroom and how she's like trying to think of something to do for it. And I'm like, I don't think I could do this. Like I would need all the help in the world. So anyways, side note. I haven't read Wharton, but I feel like I should. Yeah, me too. That's another thing too. Like that's why I was hoping with this book club is to help, knock off some TBR books for us all. And I just love book community. You know what I mean? I feel like one thing, I came to YouTube to like talk to people through posting videos and stuff, but I don't know. It's hard when you just talk to your camera and then only engage in like DMs and comments. I have a hard time keeping up with DMs sometimes. I'm not trying to like brag and say I get on DMs. I'm just like bad at texting generally and like DMs just because I prefer verbal communication. So that's why I love like a book club moment or discussions. That's why I started my podcast. That's like that's my shit, for lack of a better word. But yeah, so I guess so far I think the contenders for next month will be what's it called? Trust by Hernan Diaz. Maybe a Virginia Woolf. Sea of Tranquility is a good pick too. That's a newer one. We'll see. I feel like I have a couple other books that are coming up too that I'm very excited for. But I'm blanking, of course, because I'm trying to think of it. I mean, another thing. So a book that comes out on May 3rd that I loved was Acts of Service by Lillian Fishman. That comes out Tuesday. If you like Sally Rooney, if you like Moshfegh, if you like Melissa Broder, specifically because she uses sex. The book is all about sex and like desire and stuff, but she uses it to explore. It's not gratuitous. It's really an interesting look at like power dynamics in relationships, and it's very queer, which we love. So that book comes out soon. That would be a fun one to talk about, I think, in a group setting. And I'm trying to get the author on the pod, but we'll see. No promises, but I'm talking to people. Yeah. Also, if there are any authors that you think I could maybe get on the pod, let me know who you're interested in watching, because that's been very nerve-wracking, but I really like doing it. That's been like a goal of mine, is to be an interviewer. I listened to this podcast called Burned by Books, and it is so good. It's like my goals for interviewing. And he interviews like all of my favorite authors. He interviewed Lauren Euler, interviewed Caribou Adams, Alexandra Kleeman. Like these are all people that, well, I've gotten 2 of them on my channel, but I just want to keep pushing with it because it's so fun. And he's so good at it. I'm forgetting his credentials right now, but I think he's a professor or something. I don't know. Burned by Books, though, it's very good. If you like the kind of books that I read on my channel, I think you'll love his podcast. Oh no. Yeah, it's hard. I remember building my Billy bookcases. I was like, "What the hell?" But I did it. So anything you put your mind to, you can achieve, everyone. Have you read Giovanni's Room? I have not, and I need to, and I own it. That'd be a good one too. Slim, queer, we love. Yeah, let me know. Just keep. You can DM me separately if you would like, if you have any suggestions for books. But and then also, I need to figure out who's going to join me on to discuss it. Probably one of the hotties. Hopefully, I can convince them to do it with me. Alrighty, y'all. I guess I'll cut it short today, unless you want to keep talking to me. But yeah, thank you for joining this first episode. I know I'm bummed that Kieran had to leave, but when duty calls, I hope you like this. So yeah, going forward, last week every month, we will have some sort of discussion. I hope you like it. I'll keep going as long as people attend. Send me what you would like to read, and then I'll probably post later today or in the next couple of days the top 4 that I'm deciding between, and then y'all can vote. And we'll go from there. Any last words, everyone? I feel like I'm so awkward right now. I don't know how to do this. Oh. Wait, do you mean Department of Speculation by Jenny Awful? If that's what you mean, let me know, because I also don't like that book at all. Yeah. I feel like I talked a lot about that book last year on my channel. Haven't gotten into book podcasts yet. I'll check that out. Yeah, I really like them. And I'm trying to think if there's another one that I can recommend to you. Literary Friction is a really good one too. What I do is I tend to look up books that I've read. Like I just go in Spotify and I type in like Jonathan Franzen, for example. And then I found this group of critics that talked about every single one of Franzen's books on their podcast. And Brandon Taylor was a guest on one of them. They had like Nell Zink on it. They had Ruman Alam to talk about purity. So I've been using like that to read Jonathan Franzen's books. By the way, I love Franzen. I love Franzen. Doing great. Thank you. This is so fun. I'm actually having fun. So this is cool. Maybe I should do this more, just like talk to people. You know what? Kieran does this frequently. I should just like chill. I should relax. Illy. Don't let's put you off doing more live shows. Oh, no worries. I'm the one that's controlling this. I should have, I don't know. No worries at all. I know I still want to talk spoilers about this book. I still would love to talk about the ending because the ending is so good, but I don't want to ruin it. But if you do end up choosing to read this book and you want to talk about it with me, let's do it. I'm a big fan of voice notes on Instagram. If you would like to talk to me, I would love to talk about the ending because it brings it all together. Yeah, Department. Yeah, no, I did not. I read Weather in I think 2019 actually. And I remember kind of liking it, but I was a little bit less assured in my, I don't know, thoughts on books. And then I read Department of Speculation, didn't love it. It's doing the fragmentary thing that's bad, you know? Lauren Euler in Fake Accounts, I think she does a really excellent critique of Department of Speculation and Jenny Awful's work generally. Let me not be crazy in the life. And I don't want to put words in Euler's mouth, but I know that that's one critique. Yeah, thank you. I have another, so I filmed one with Hunter at Shelf by Shelf on Instagram. I filmed it like in February? No, March, I think. It was before the International Booker shortlist or longlist was even announced. I just haven't got around to editing it yet. I've been a little behind on editing. Like my one with Hannah recently, that was from like early February. And I was like, shit, I hope no one can tell. But yeah, and I think Matthew Sharapa, he mentioned that he would come on and talk about poetry. So that's coming down the line. I need to talk to him about poetry because I read this book called The Hatred of Poetry by Ben Lerner, and I read his book Leaving the Atocha Station that talks about the kind of general dislike of poetry and like the narrator's own sort of preoccupations with like how difficult and like weird poetry is and like where it falls into what's the word, like groups of works, I guess, like what is poetry doing that like fiction's not. And Melissa Broder also, I was watching some interviews after she um about the Pisces, sorry, lost my train of thought. She mentioned how like poetry like is like, what is poetry, like she's a poet I guess before she wrote prose, and then um she started dictating prose into her phone, which became the Pisces, and now she writes novels. And so I think, long story short, Ben Lerner and Melissa Broder recently talking about like their questions of poetry are really interesting. And Matthew is a big proponent of poetry. So I think that we will have a fun conversation because I think it was a couple years ago, he made a video called like How to Read Poetry or something. And he kind of talks about how like, however you read poetry is the right way to read poetry. And people approach it with like not the wrong approach, but like I don't know. He has like a tutorial for like how to get into poetry. So I'll link that when I do that podcast, and we'll talk about that video too. But I'm excited to talk to him about that. Any interest in the Women's Prize for Fiction this year? Yes, I am interested. I'm blanking on who is on the list. Let me look this up really fast because there's a couple that I really want to read. Let's see here. So one I know I really want to read is Build Your House Around My Body. I bought that on a whim. Not on a whim, actually. Matthew Shrappa influenced that purchase. I saw the cover at my local bookstore and I was like, this cover slaps. I wish I could put up pictures here, but why is this? I just got like 3 pop-ups. So let's see. I need to read Great Circle. I have not read that yet. I've had it for a long time. Sorrow and Bliss, another one I've had for a while that I might be buddy reading with Noelle Gallagher, maybe. We mentioned maybe doing that. So that'll be coming soon. But I know like CJ, Alex from Page Are You On, Hannah, they all love that book. So I think I'll like it too. The final revival of Opal and Nev, that one, if I do it, it'll be on audio, but I don't know. Is that one giving commercial vibes? Let me know, because I've been kind of not. I thought it was commercial, but I don't know. The Paper Palace, I also own that. And that one, I think, isn't the author of The Paper Palace like a HBO director or something? So it seems like that one's definitely going to be adapted. So I know Grace liked that book too. The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. I read that book. I really liked it, but that's one, like we're mentioning, I really liked reading it. It's kind of a slower book about books, and it didn't really stay with me after that. It's about like this woman who works in Louise Erdrich's bookstore. So it's kind of like meta in that sense too, but it's told from a bookseller who works there, and there's like a ghost that inhabits the bookstore, but it's not creepy at all. Yeah, it was good. And it brings in like COVID and contemporary issues. And I thought it was kind of interesting how it did that, but it just wasn't a new favorite. I feel like I'm not seeing the full list. Yeah, that's kind of what's sticking out to me from that. Salt Lake, I think I've heard good things about that too. Yeah. Let's see. I wish more of my faves would do this Q&A session. Hey, I'm down. I am more than down. I didn't know if people would be interested in that. But if you'd like me to keep doing this, I'm happy to keep doing it. It's very easy. I don't have to edit afterwards. This is amazing. This is incredible. Because editing is a pain in my ass, I will say. Hence why I haven't edited the podcast episode I have. It's a doozy. If you have any questions, please let me know. Several great books on the long list. Creatures of Passage. I have not heard of this book at all. Who is it by? I can't see I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'll look into it though. Interesting. I think you would definitely enjoy, or no, find Star Unbelieved interesting. Enjoyed 6 of them so far. Nice. Yeah. So one thing that I've come to realize was I originally I get so excited about things, like bookish things, whether it be new books coming out and then I buy them and then I don't read them. Classic problem. Or like the long list was announced for the International Booker long list, and I was like, you know what? I'm reading the whole list this year. Last year for the Booker Prize, I'm reading the whole long list. I'm doing it because I want to be part of the community and everyone's doing it, and I want to join and have fun too. And then my mood reading ass will not do it. I will not stick to a TBR to save my life. And so the only thing at most I can do is stick to a book club pick, like one book a month. I can commit to it. I will do it. But if it's like 6 books, especially like the books of Jacob being so long, and Tomb of Sam being so long, and I'm like, I have to be in the mood for it, but then the winner's announced, and then I'm like, well, I know the winner, so like, not as exciting anymore, you know? And like everyone's already pumped out the content, that's read them all, like as it came out. Y'all are disciplined, and I am not. So I'm sorry if anyone was like banking on me actually reading the short list, because I don't think it's happening. Yeah, I just don't think it is. I got to be less like, you know, eager about stuff and overpromise on things. That's why for this book club, I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm sticking to it. If people show up, I'm sticking to it. And people have showed up, so cool. You think I would find Star Unbelieved interesting? Yeah, I mean, it seems like a true DWM. I know it's about a woman dealing with some form of mental illness, I believe, and it's like not identified what that is. I think it's called like X or something in the book. Yeah, it sounds good. I think I've only heard truly good things about it. So, and I believe the author's Australian. Is that right? I read Paul Dalla Rosa's collection. He's also Australian. His new collection comes out June 2nd in the UK. And so anyone from the US watching, highly, highly, highly recommend that you order that from Blackwell's. Free shipping, cheap for the most part, from what I know. Great story collection. Because I just don't know when it's coming out in the United States. But and then also Jessica Au. Is that how you pronounce her name? Yeah. Of Cold Enough for Snow. Also Australian. They have some good ass writers in Australia, apparently. Another classic that's kind of on the short side that I hear is perfect. Like I've heard it be called a perfect novel or similar to it by like Lauren Groff. She has an introduction in, did I even say the book yet? Sorry. The Transit of Venus by Shirley Hazard. She has this book called The Transit of Venus, and it was recently reissued by Penguin, and Lauren Groff did the introduction. And then Pearl Sagal, critic, who I tend to follow and like her books or her recommendations, she also said that Shirley Hazard is excellent. I think Lauren Euler loves Shirley Hazard. And I think the book's not too long. I think it's about like sisters. It's kind of dark. That's something. From New Zealand, but lived in Australia. Oh, okay. My bad. So that's one too, if we're looking for some perfect novels. I love when books are called perfect novels. I'm like, oh, so one thing I've been wanting to film a video about like my bookish influences, because I think it's fun to reflect on. Like, I can tell you for like every book that I have, like why I bought it, and to give you a preview of like what I think it is. It's like number one is like fellow book people on here. Like if someone I follow loves a book, like I will buy it. And then aside from that, I'm very loyal to certain publishers, like very loyal to like a handful. And I need to get a little bit more loyal to like indie presses. I just haven't read enough of them. I'm kind of under the forces of like major publishers, I guess, but like FSG, like my fave, I must say. Like FSG publishes some hot shit. Franzen, namely. I think they published two books that were in my top 5 last year: The Right to Sex, nonfiction, and then Franzen, Crossroads. But I also love like Riverhead books, adore. I like Catapult a lot. Charcoal Press has some good stuff. I haven't read enough of them, but imprints are really good to follow to like know what you're gonna like. Oh, New Directions, that's another one. They also published Paradise by Fernanda Melchor in hurricane season, and I love those books. I'm actually kind of bummed that Paradise wasn't on the short list because I thought the book was excellent. So good. That's a good book club book to read too. Very good for discussion, I think, because the ending is buck wild. Oh, and so further influences, covers. I'm a sucker for a good cover, but also I think this might be like one of my top influences is blurbs. I like that shit works on me, you guys. I don't know if you're the same, but like if someone I even know of that I know has like good acclaim or that I love blurb something, like I'm buying the book, you know? Like it's, but I feel like I should be a little bit more like not fall into marketing. But that's what marketing is for. They want you to buy the book. So it's kind of funny because like I know Melissa Broder, she says she always makes jokes about like she mentioned what was it, the Life of the Mind by Christine Smallwood, which I loved. She blurbed that book and she was like, that book I blurbed and I actually liked. It's not the case for everything that I blurb, but I'm like, have y'all been lying to me in the blurbs? I don't like blurbs. I don't trust them. Yes, I should not trust them because Melissa Broder spilled the tea about how she just I don't know what the reason would be. Is it like for her own publisher? Like they ask her to do it and she's like, sure, or like doing a favor. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a really good point. I shouldn't trust them, but I do. I I try to not to listen. But then aside from that, I also like to read like certain pieces of criticism um, as well. And I go on bookmarks.reviews. And it's kind of like the Metacritic of books. So you get like, it'll say whether reviews for book have been like raves, positive, or pan. Or no, sorry, rave, positive, mixed, or pan. And then it gives like a total score. And so if I'm like thinking about picking up a book, I'll go on bookmarks and then like see what the Metacritic score is, you know? So it's and then it gives you like blurbs of pieces of criticism about them. So like little snippets of a review to see like what the general vibe is. So I use that a lot. Blurbs are important, and the opposite is true too. If someone I truly dislike blurbs, I don't tend to buy it. Okay, so you know what's funny is I don't love, like I mentioned, Jenny Awful's work, but if she blurbs something, I'm like interested. What does that mean? What is the psychology of that? I think it's because I like the tone and like ideas presented in Jenny Awful's work. I just don't love the execution. I think that's a T. Oh, Tessa refuses to do blurbs. Yeah, she does, but my ass went on Google and I was like, what are Tessa Moshfegh's favorite books? And I ended up picking up Amy Bairdale's You Are Having a Good Time. That's what it's called. Short story collection, very Moshfeghian, like truly Moshfeghian. And I guess that they're like close friends, all about like miscommunication, unlikable people. So for her, yeah, I had to go around that and find blurbs or recommendations from her. Like Sheila Heti, if she blurbed something, I'm reading it. She blurbed Acts of Service, like I mentioned before, and I loved it. She put Dorian Gray in number one in her top 10 books. I read it. I loved it. So sometimes it works for certain writers. I think you have to figure out the blurbers that you like, you know? Yeah. Anyways, we're coming up on the hour. Thank you all for not ditching me when things kind of went left a little bit. I'm gonna go check in on Kieran and make sure everything's okay. Thank you all for joining, and I'm gonna think a little bit more about what 4 books I want to put in the short list. I'll share like a brief blurb or reasoning for why I'm interested in it, and then I'll let you all vote. And then next month, new guest, we'll chat about it. Let me know if you like spoilers or not. I tend to find for like book clubs, if I'm committed to it, you know, like I wouldn't mind spoilers because I want to go and talk about everything about a book. But if you want to watch this to kind of learn more about a book or just watch it for like entertainment, but you don't want to be spoiled, totally get that too. Basically, what I'm saying is any feedback is much appreciated, as always. Anyways, thank you all so much. I appreciate it. Appreciate you all. Thanks for not ditching us. Well, hey, this is why BookTube is so cool. Y'all are so nice. I get emotional sometimes thinking about like being on BookTube, like truly best thing I've ever done. I met so many people so many friends, some of my closest friends I've met. I went to Amsterdam and met Tana. Like that's like BookTube is wild. Interviewing authors, like this is just, it's so, I don't know. I'm a sap. I get emotional about things. Thanks everyone. I'm tuning out. Have a nice, what is today? Tuesday. Have a nice Tuesday. Bye.